Hi, everyone. It's Heidi from Costume Co. Coming to you with another live stream on a Saturday night. It's 6 p.m. in EST. So where you are in the world, it might be different.
Hi, everyone.
Oh, sorry. Hold on a sec.
Heidi from Costume.
Sorry about that. I had my own video playing in the background there. And that's usually a no-no. I don't normally, I try not to do that. But anyway, I made a mistake. So anyway, I wasn't here last weekend. And the reason why is I took a little vacation with the family. We went camping actually to a really lovely area in Ontario. And it was really nice. The kids had a great time. I got a lot of bug bites, however. So that was one big drawback about it, and that's the only thing what happens when you go camping outdoors. So just wondering if anyone's here. So far we've got Aaron who says hi Heidi. Hi Aaron. And Aaron had asked me how my vacation was. I didn't have a chance to respond. It was really good. So we went swimming and we went to a museum and we went visiting some family and barbecued, and yeah, it was really, really great. So back in the city, actually in my regular job, I've been sort of had a lot of work on me. So been right back to it, pretty busy with that. And then the other thing is this week I released a new video on the costumes of Ned Stark. So if you guys haven't seen it yet, I released it yesterday. It's actually part one of a two-part series that I'm doing on Ned Stark and Jon Snow. And the reason why I'm doing them together, of course, is there's a lot of crossover between the two characters. So the first one's Ned Stark. The second one will be Jon Snow. Hopefully have that out sometime next week. As well, I wanted to mention that I'm trying to get this really great cosplayer on the show. Her name is Natasha Bieberfield. So I had asked her back maybe a couple of months ago when I had Kristen on if she'd be willing to do it. And she said she would, but she's just been a bit busy. And so hopefully we'll have her on before the end of the summer. She does all kinds of, she does Outlander, and she does like all kinds of Japanime and Game of Thrones. I'm pretty sure she does Game of Thrones. She did a really great The Crown of Queen Elizabeth. Like, it was an amazing reproduction. So I'd love to have her on. She also does a lot about wigs and how they're constructed and such. So I thought that would be really good. Plus a really extensive knowledge. She goes to a lot of the, what do you call them? The cosplay events across, North America. I think she's in the States, but she travels quite a bit. So that's the other thing. And then also, I mentioned to you guys that I'm working on a book. So Patrick, who I had on a few weeks ago, is collaborating on that with me. Well, I mean, he's helping me in terms of the artwork. So I showed some of the artwork last time he was on, and he's been doing a bunch of it. So I hope to have him on in the near future, show you guys a bit more of that, as well as, today we're going to look at some of the trailers. So on Bohemian Rhapsody, Patrick's has a huge amount of knowledge about Queen. He wrote a book on Queen. So I'm hoping to have him on, and then we can talk about what's going on with Bohemian Rhapsody, because there was a really great new trailer that came out this week. So I've tried to set it up. I've set up 3 trailers to show you guys. The only thing is I'm not exactly sure if the sound is going to work. So I'm hoping it does. I decided to do it through Google Hangouts, and I was told by my technician, which is my husband, that it would probably have been better if we'd done it through OBS. So I don't know if we'll have sound on it. So I'm really sorry if we don't. Hopefully we do that. And I just want to say a few hellos to everybody who's here. So, so Cindy says that I guess she means my live stream is the best part of her Saturday. Oh, that's so kind. Thank you. And Haley Marie is here. She says, whoa. Hey, will you do the costumes of Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit? Okay, that's a really great question. I've actually been asked that before. So what I had sort of thrown out there is I would like to do Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, but I would only do it if I had a collaborator, in the same way that when I did Star Wars, I had somebody helping me. I don't know if you guys can hear me here, but my one kid is like screaming at the top of his lungs, like he's playing, but anyway, I can hear him sort of, I usually lock them in a cage before I start the live stream. So I guess he's not too happy about being in a cage. Anyway, so if I could find somebody who would want to help me with the Lord of the Rings, which would be, there's 3 in the original trilogy, plus The Hobbit, there would be 2 more. I mean, I'd probably at least start with just Lord of the Rings. Yeah, so I would definitely need someone to help me with that, because first of all, I'm not a Tolkien, I don't know a lot about Tolkien. I you know, so I definitely would want someone who has a good knowledge of that, plus has a lot of understanding of armor. So, because there's a huge amount of armor. And, you know, with Game of Thrones, I have been learning a lot about the armor. There's actually an armorer that I'm hoping to get on the show. I'm not going to say anything yet until we've talked, but I'm hoping that I can get this weapons expert to come on and talk maybe about Game of Thrones weapons. So who else is here? We have, so hopefully that answers your question as I rambled on there. So that's what we have so far. So what I'm going to do is, okay, so this week we had three trailers that were released. So we had Bohemian Rhapsody, which has a huge amount of, like, you know, hype behind it. Rami Malek is in it. And then we also had Mary Queen of Scots, which they had already had a trailer of some type, I think, before, but this was one of the bigger trailers. That's going to be coming out, I think, in December. And then finally, like, just kind of out of nowhere, I didn't even know this was happening, they have Robin Hood was also released, a trailer of that with Taylor Edgerton, I think his name is. Am I saying that right? If I'm not getting that right, sorry. Actually, so what I did this week is, this was just sort of a fun little thing. Let me see if I can go here. I'm just going to go to this. I did a poll. Hopefully you guys can see this. So I asked my viewers, and we have this little thing, it's called a community section in YouTube. I try not to use it too much, but once in a while. So you might have gotten a notification about this. So I said there are 3 trailers were released this week, causing a huge stir in the entertainment community. Which movie are you most likely to watch? So as you can see by this poll, the majority want to see Mary Queen of Scots with I think it's Saoirse. Aaron, you probably know how you need to say her name. Saoirse Ronan and Margot Robbie. And then Bohemian Rhapsody starring Rami Malek. And he's from, what's the name of that TV show? He's very good on it. And then Robin Hood with Taron Egerton, that's his name, and Jamie Foxx. So as you can see here, the Mary Queen of Scots won by 62%. This is a small poll, though. It's out of 109 votes, but still, it's, you know, probably a fairly accurate. And from people's comments, it sounds like a lot of people are anxious to see it, followed by Bohemian Rhapsody and then Robin Hood. So the Robin Hood trailer got quite a bit of, a lot of people were not too thrilled with it, I have to say. So what I'm going to do, Mr. Robot, Jack tells me, yes. So Rami Malek is in Mr. Robot. If you guys haven't seen it, it's fantastic. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with Mary Queen of Scots. So, you know, there's been a couple of shows that hopefully everyone can see this. There's been a couple of shows or movies that have been based upon her life, like quite a few. There's like, so Rain was the big one that was on TV, the CW. I found this other one here, which was a French version, which makes sense because, you know, she was raised in France from a very young age. And, you know, the two actors actually, you know, are pretty close. She was a brunette. She was apparently, you know, somewhat attractive, not stunning by any means, but she was apparently, you know, nice looking enough. And then, you know, and then we have these kind of, sorry, those are the pictures I had. Oh, I'm going to show those to you after. Okay. And then these are the posters we have for the new movie. So we've got Mary Queen of Scots, which is Saoirse. Is that how you say her name, Aaron? And then you have Margot Robbie, who is playing Elizabeth. So Mary is Saoirse, and then Margot is Elizabeth. And I actually really like these posters. It's interesting because I've talked about this a little bit in Game of Thrones. We've got the two families, like the Lannisters and the why am I having problems with names? The Tyrells. And so I was sort of saying that the Lannisters are represented by red, the color red, and the Tyrells tend to be represented by kind of blue-green colors. So they sort of done this. They sort of created this contrast, this stark contrast between the two, picked up on their eye colors. Now, the first thing I want to say is, you know, Mary Queen of Scots was a brunette and she had brown eyes. She didn't have blue eyes and red hair like this. So, you know, what are you going to do? And then, of course, Elizabeth, you know, this is a wig she's wearing. So she wore a lot of wigs. And they've punched up the red color there. Am I saying it close enough, Aaron? She was also portrayed in Elizabeth Golden Age. Yes, and I'm going to get to that as well. Okay, so what I've got here is the trailer, and I really hope the sound works. So here, let's go. Hopefully you guys can hear this. Oh, okay. So apparently Jack's telling me that you can't hear this, so that's too bad. So anyway, apparently, oh, sorry guys, apparently you can't hear that. So I apologize for that. I'm going to work on that next time. Yeah. So Herman Bum's mom saying no sound. Apple Field says hello. Okay, guys, sorry, I can't work on the sound because unfortunately I've loaded this ahead of time, so this kind of sucks. So next time I'll try to have the actual trailer that you can hear. But we'll just continue watching the trailer until the end. Oh, hey, 30-day reviews. We're just watching the trailer, but unfortunately I have no sound here. Okay, guys, sorry about that. So what I'm going to do is next time I will try and make sure we have sound on that. So what I just did is at the very end there, I put my earbuds up. But what we were looking at was the trailer for Mary, Queen of Scots, the 2018 movie. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add links to the description so you guys can go back and watch them properly because you'll get some better context. But I think we were talking a little bit about how there's been other sort of versions of Mary Queen of Scots. And then I found this picture here of Glenda Jackson. She's playing Elizabeth. It's funny because she's played Elizabeth. This is the second time she'd played Elizabeth. And then it was Vanessa Redgrave who actually was playing Mary. And of course, Glenda Jackson's portrayed here as a redhead as Elizabeth would be. But then Vanessa Redgrave has this very contemporary hairstyle that would be as a blonde. And of course, she wasn't a blonde. She was a brunette. And then we have another picture here that is of Katharine Hepburn, who's also playing Mary, Queen of Scots. So and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of try and get your reaction to this and what you guys think. I'm just going to sort of throw this out there. I'm just going to go back here actually for a second. So one of the things that I sort of discovered is that the director of the movie is a woman. Her name's Josie Rourke. She's primarily a theater director. And so I was just talking about this today, that the movie does have a very theatrical feel to it, sort of a Shakespearean feel. It's sort of in the same time period. And it's actually based upon a book by John Guy. The book was called My Heart Is My Own, The Life of Mary Queen of Scots, sort of from Mary Queen of Scots, sort of her own perspective. And what I'm sort of getting from this is that they're sort of setting up Elizabeth as being kind of the villain and Mary maybe being, she's the one who's being wronged. These two strong women going up head to head against each other. And the one thing that's really interesting, though, is despite what a lot of people are saying, including myself, about the costumes, is that the woman who designed the movie or designed the costumes for the movie, Mary Queen of Scots, she's actually like a really accomplished costume designer. So she did costumes for Thor, the original Thor, Guardians of the Galaxy, Doctor Strange, and then Elizabeth, the Golden Age, which she won an Oscar for. And then she won a BAFTA, which is a British sort of like a an Oscar, but for England. And she won it for the movie Persuasion, which is actually one of my favorite movies of all time. So, you know, we have to take that into context because, you know, a lot of people, including myself, have been talking about how historically inaccurate the movie is. And yet the woman who designed it, costume wise, is, you know, she's an award-winning costume designer. So she knows her stuff. So I think what's going on here perhaps is that she's just decided to break the rules regarding the costume. So here, for example, are a couple of the costumes, Mary's costumes. So the one on the right, this blue one, she puts her in blue a lot, almost like denim kind of blue. Like the one on the left looks like denim. It's really odd. And she's added, actually, on the one on the left, she's added like chain mail to her costume. She's added in metal grommets, which, you know, none of this is historically accurate. The one on the right, the fabric looks very contemporary. It doesn't look historical. She does have them in corsets and such. Like she's got kind of the silhouette going on, and then of course the hair is completely wrong. And they have no headdresses. They would have been very, very modest. Mary was Catholic. She would have been dressed extremely modestly. Oh, Aaron says, I know a lot about Mary. And so, and of course, as I mentioned before, she was a brunette. She actually had brown eyes. And then some of the people have been mentioning that Mary and Elizabeth never actually met. They corresponded primarily through letters. So they didn't meet in person. So I don't know. It's one of those things, I guess you could just take it with a grain of salt. One of the things that someone pointed out is this costume on the left here by Gemma Chan that she's wearing. She's actually from the show Humans. My husband watches that. She's a, you know, really great British actor. So her outfit here, I don't even know what's going on here. What the designer has done is she's put them in what are like kind of like Spencers, which is sort of a jacket that women would have worn in the early 1800s. And like a very cropped jacket while they were riding. And, you know, some people again have mentioned that Mary is riding astride as opposed to, you know, with her legs to the side, like side saddles. So, which is, you know, women wouldn't have done that. I mean, we have to remember that women, you know, were really considered lesser human beings than men at that time period. This is like the 1500s. So it was not a good time for women. And then, you know, again, her costume, the one on the left, I don't know. Mary is also wearing one of these little short cropped jackets things. And you see a lot of them in this show. So, and then here, I mean, this has a silhouette of, there's no doubt, this has a silhouette of Elizabeth. But as an historian pointed out from Frockflix, I've actually put their sort of commentary about this, the trailer in the description. You know, this is all machine embroidered on the bodice here on the front, and that wouldn't have, you know, it would have been actually all hand embroidered. And although it does look like silk, so that would probably be kind of historically accurate. This one here that I'm going to show you, this one here is actually the most, I think, of the most historically accurate. Actually, there is a portrait of Elizabeth wearing something akin to this, although they have taken quite a bit of liberties. But like these sort of this militaristic, these little bands in the front. I don't know if you can see my my arrow when I point to it or not. Can you guys see my arrow when I'm pointing to it? And then, yeah, but other than that, so the ruff, of course, that's, you know, period. And what I'm thinking is happening too, is that, you know, this is supposed to be over several years because they've aged Mary. Like she's gone from being kind of beautiful back here, young and beautiful, to, you know, starting to have alopecia and losing her hair. And she's using the white lead powder to cover her face. I mean, here she's just starting to, like, you know, you've got this crazy hairline going on. This outfit, again, she's wearing a Spencer, a short crop jacket. I think on Frockflix, they were mentioning that this is supposed to represent, there's a historical costume piece, which I can't remember what it's called, but it would have had that sort of silhouette, but it would have been worn like kind of underneath and not like over top like that. And then it looks like she's got like grommets or something, or maybe studs in her corset. I don't know if that's meant to, you know, represent armor. I'm not really sure. So anyway, so that's what's going on there. I did also grab some pictures here of some of the men, which I actually kind of like these a little bit, especially this one on the right. They've used again though. It looks like they've like robbed a denim factory or something, and they've just done like all, just taken a bunch of different colors of denim and then just sort of patchworked them together. Lots of blues and lots of leathers, which I wanted to talk to my friend. She's a Scottish historian. I wanted to actually talk to her because she had told me originally that, using leather was just, I mean, unless you're upper classes, which some of these people would be, it was just a real, chore to actually to render the leather and to make the hide and then cut clothing out of it. So oftentimes, like, that wasn't a very popular sort of thing that would have been made. I mean, they probably would have done it obviously with their boots, but to have the pants and the jacket and the sleeves and everything in leather, usually would wear like a jerkin, as I've talked about before, which might have been leather as a protective garment, but underneath that, everything would be linen or silk or something like that. So next, what do we got going here? Okay, so the next one, and again, sorry guys, I'm not going to have music for this or sound, is Bohemian Rhapsody. And that's being directed by Bryan Singer. He's a pretty big, famous director. And interestingly, Robert De Niro is one of the producers. And then the producers on this are actually most of the guys from the band. So you've got Brian May is one of the producers, and Roger Meadows. So obviously we lost Freddie Mercury. So he won't be in the movie. Guys, tell me if you can still hear me because no one's talking. Maybe everyone's just being quiet. Okay. So this is one of the movies that I'm really, really excited to see. It's going to be designed by a guy named Julian Day. And interestingly, he also designed the costumes for Robin Hood. So he did both those costumes designs, which is interesting because they're completely, different. And he sort of came out of nowhere. I looked this guy up and I'm like, I don't even know who this guy is. Like, he did a Robert Ludlum story, and then some TV stuff, nothing too famous. So this is probably going to kind of blow him out of the water a little bit, this movie. And because we've got the Queen consultants on this, there's lots of documentation of what the clothes look like. So here, we'll just kind of go through this here. I think this is the video here, but I'm going to, there's no sound. Oh, thanks, Sarah. You say you can hear me. Okay. I thought maybe everyone was falling asleep or something. Oh, sorry. I think I stopped it. I'm just trying to, okay. So you can sort of see Rami is like reflected in the piano there. So guys, sorry you can't hear this. So what I'm going to do is, again, I'll put this in the description below. So sorry, guys. So that the trailer is so much better with music and sound. Um, so we got two things going on here. We've got like their concert outfits, like Queen's concert outfits. Which hey, Indie Geek is here. Hey guys, he says just popping in to show some love for Freddie Mercury. And Costume Co. That's so sweet. Yes. So and Herman Bum's mom, Cindy says, makes me want to sing. We will rock you. Yeah. So anyway, what we've got here is we've got two things sort of happening. We have the Queen persona, as they are on stage to the audience, and all the crazy elaborate costumes that Freddie Mercury would have worn. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of this would have been cataloged. So, it's documented. The band were a consultant on this, so they would have known what they wore. And so they've done a really great job recreating this. And this is going to be part of like one of my favorite parts of the movie, along with the great music. Like, look at these like crazy fan sleeves that Freddie's wearing here. But as I mentioned, like there's lots of images. And what I'm going to do, I'll have Patrick come on hopefully in a couple of weeks. And he is a huge fanboy of Queen. He's seen them play several times. So he'll be able to sort of speak to this a little bit better than me. But anyway, it's got that definite 1970s nostalgia to it. I love this outfit. It's sort of like a Harlequin with a bare chest. It's kind of glam rock. I mean, I started listening to Queen when I would have been like 8 or 9. I had brothers and sisters who had their albums. So they have the shag hair. They would wear makeup. They would wear lots of crazy outfits, platform shoes, and all that type of thing. Here's Freddie wearing like a fur coat, for gosh sakes, and this crazy shag. And then the women around him. So I think the designer did a really terrific job on this. And I think it's going to be like one of the we haven't had a really good rock musical or musical for a long time. So I think that's going to be exciting. Here, again, he's wearing this shimmer glitter unitard, kind of crazy. I mean, he sort of rivaled David Bowie in terms of that sort of glam rock look. Rami, I think, has really embraced it. He's got the physique sort of, I think, like Freddie Mercury. And then he has a slight overbite, but I think that they did give him some type of prosthetic teeth as well. So you guys can tell me what you think about that. And if you're excited to see this. Here's a good group shot of the band. So this would be an example of maybe their regular clothing. Like, so Freddie's obviously not dressed as outrageously. He's still fairly styling, but it's got that 1970s aesthetic. You've got this sort of the bell bottom, a slight bell bottom, pants, and then you've got boot cut, and the very, the fitted shirts, the open shirts with chains and so on, and they all have the long hair, which of course they were known quite well for. And I love that they all have different color hair too. So you've got Freddie's got like black hair, and then you got the blonde, and then sort of almost an auburn, and then brown. So it was really nice. I remember that one of their album covers, the 4 of them are on the cover. Maybe it's Bohemian Rhapsody, actually. I'll have to look at that. And then, of course, we get into things like this, which, I remember this concert when I was young. I didn't get to see it, obviously. It was Band Aid. It was a hugely famous concert. And Freddie Mercury wore this singlet with the armband and the tight white pants and the studded belt. And that's when he was wearing his mustache and short hair. So that was... I think this is what's cool about this is that there's going to be people watching this who've actually been there, have been at the concert, and would have remembered a lot of this. So this I think is going to be very exciting for a lot of people. And I think Rami did a great job. And I found this really fun. This is Brian May on the left here with the gray hair. And then the actor, Gwilym Lee, who plays Brian May. And you can see like they really look alike. It's pretty incredible. They did an awesome job there. So anyway, so you guys let me know in the comments if you're excited to see either Bohemian Rhapsody or if you're excited to see Mary Queen of Scots, and any comments you have on that. Okay. So next we're going to go to Robin Hood. All right. So AU Pack Mule, who, Robert knows, Indie Geek knows quite well, and have met him through the, sort of the Westworld and Game of Thrones groups of people. He actually is really excited about this movie. I saw the trailer. My first impression was not great. I just was like, what is this hunk of garbage? Oh, Indie Geek says, he's got the strut right for Freddie. And Brian May looks great. I think so too. And Aaron says, I think I'm excited to see both. Yeah, me too. So although I have to say, I think I'm a bit more excited to see, Bohemian Rhapsody, but I will give Mary Queen of Scots a try. I think I will. And then this one. So anyway, so Amy, what people were saying is it's kind of got that, you know, that, what do you call it? There's an King Arthur. There was a King Arthur reboot that was done. Oh, Cindy says, oh my God, I do not like those costumes. Yes, we're going to get into this. Robin Hood, I mean. So it's got that King Arthur sort of, I don't know, like steampunk or Sherlock Holmes, like that Guy Ritchie. You know how Guy Ritchie takes an historical figure, not historical, but like a fictional figure, like how he took Sherlock Holmes or how he took King Arthur, and then he takes it and he kind of turns it on its side, and he gives it like sort of, I think what would be more like an action packed more contemporary type of feel to it. And so I think they've sort of done this with the costumes. So like, for instance, okay, Robin Hood's been done a ton of times. And I think this is one of the questions people are saying about it, is like, why are they redoing Robin Hood? Like, it's just been done so many times. There was this reboot with Russell Crowe and Cate Blanchett, which I don't ever saw it, but I don't know how it did. Of course, everyone's seen the one with Kevin Costner, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and Bryan Adams did the theme song. And, you know, we had a wonderful, Alan Rickman was the sheriff of Nottingham. And he's iconic for that. And then, you know, they've done some TV versions of it as well. And of course, there was a cartoon that was done by Disney. So it's been done a lot. So anyway, guys, so I'm going to show you the trailer. I am so sorry that I don't have a sound, but we'll get the visuals and then we'll talk about it. Okay. Here we go. Here we go. You don't get to hear the bad accents here. Oh, Aaron's saying that the King Arthur movie made him sick. Yes, and Errol Flynn as well, Cindy. If I forgot to mention that. All right. You guys watched that with us, the sound, and like with the sound, it was so long. I don't know, like it felt like a really long trailer to me. They were packing a lot in there. Anyway, so Herman Bum's mom says, wasn't there? Oh yeah, she says Matrix costumes. Give me a break. Okay, so. So I was mentioning the guy who did the costumes for this, the costume designer for this. Let me just go back for a second. Oh, where is it? Okay. He is the same designer as Bohemian Rhapsody. And so it's sort of odd that he's done these two movies together. They're so, you know, such such different movies. And he's best known for Inferno, which is like the it's directed by Ron Howard, and then Rush, which is like a race car movie sort of thing. And then the director, and Justin could probably speak more to this, he's not here with me, has done some episodes of Peaky Blinders. So he has done some historical stuff, like because Peaky Blinders is sort of like the just after World War I. And then he did an episode of Black Mirror. So I'm assuming he's British. And then interestingly as well is Leonardo DiCaprio is a producer on this. So I thought that was kind of cool. Aaron says, what kind of steampunk modern hot mess historically inaccurate bullshit is this? Yes. So what I wanted to tell you is, okay, so one of my viewers, she gave me the link. I don't know if you guys, any of you have seen Scala Gladiatoria. He's got this channel where he talks about weapons, and it's a really great channel if any of you guys are interested in that. So I'm going to leave a link. He did a trailer review on this, and he's talking about the floppy arrows. I don't know a lot about arrows, but yeah, apparently they use a lot of floppy arrows. And then some of the weapons, like they use explosives, and it's just kind of like, yeah, it's just all over the place. So it's very hard, from that point of view, to sort of talk about the costumes, because Robin Hood, the story of Robin Hood would have been set in like the 1300s. That is usually the setting that we see, like when we see men in tights, that type of thing. So this is clearly not that. And then the other thing you Game of Thrones fans might not know is that it was shot in Dubrovnik, in the same place as Game of Thrones, where they shoot King's Landing. So the setting is when they do these wide shots, you're like, hey, that looks like the Red Keep, or that looks like, King's Landing. What's going on here? So that's a little bit confusing. So it's not even shot in England. So my first question is this a dystopian future? Is this like is this like, are we on a parallel universe type of thing? A lot of people have compared it to Assassin's Creed. So from oh yeah, so In Deep Geek says, yeah, Otto Bathurst is British. So I mean, some of the stuff I've seen is stuff on TV is really great. So I don't know, and apparently he's quite young. So he would be like the Guy Ritchie, I guess, of this young generation now. Guy Ritchie is probably like my age now. So maybe this is like an up and coming thing. So he wanted to do, my friend Patrick was like, he wanted to do something that was old and classic without it looking old and classic, I guess. So this jacket that Robin Hood is wearing here, the best way I can describe it is that I think it's supposed to be what's called a gambeson, which if you just watch my Ned Stark movie video, I talk about that. And so what it is, it's a quilted undergarment that you would wear under armor. Although sometimes, I mean, if you were poor, you wouldn't actually have armor to wear over top of it. So you would wear the gambeson alone. And they did have this sort of like diagonal, like diamond shaped quilting. But it would be made out of like linen, and then it would be stuffed with like cotton or wool to give you that padding. But this, like someone was saying, it looks like something you would get at H&M. It's very contemporary looking. It's made of leather, not linen or wool. The sleeves, they're not detachable, but there is like a little bit of a hole underneath to give him a little bit of ease. But then it's seamed on top as opposed to underneath, which is, again, is very contemporary. And then they've added a hood. Now here, this one here, so I'm not sure what's going on here. So maybe he has two coats. This is a full length one. This is actually better. A gambeson would generally be at least hip length or longer. So this, I think, would be a better one. But again, and they've done some breakdown on it, but again, it's machine sewed. It's not hand sewed. It just looks like something it's very contemporary. And then he's just wearing regular pants, and then like a bandana, like something you would see someone in the Old West wearing, or something like a bright blue bandana. Oh, Golf Princess is here. She says, hi, everyone. I vote for Robin Hood, Men in Tights. Absolutely. And Carrie Alwys is in that. I adore him. He's from The Princess Bride. And he's actually coming to Toronto Comic Con. So I'm going to go to that. Maybe I'll run into him. That would be awesome. Don't you think? Indy Key says, interested to see Tim Minchin as Friar Tuck. Oh, okay, so I'm not familiar with him, But, you know, I have to say that I did actually kind of like the Friar Tuck costume. I don't have a picture of it here. So this is another, this is actually just a set shot. These are some early set shots where apparently Robin Hood begins as a crusader wearing these crazy, I don't even know what these costumes are. Like they look like something like if a church was putting on a production, with crusaders, and they didn't have anything. They'd have to just go down to a shop and buy something and put a cross on it. That's what it kind of looks like to me. I've never seen a crusader just like that before in my life. And then here's another couple of more pictures of them, or reenactors. I don't know. It's just, it doesn't have like a theatrical feeling. And then this one, I'm not too much against this look. I prefer this over that hooded thing he's wearing, but it looks a little bit like tactical armor, like something you might see someone wear in the Middle East, you know, like an American soldier with all the tan and everything. Although if you look closer on his bed sheets for capes, exactly. If you look at his armor, they have tried to make it slightly medieval. Again, when I was talking about a coat of plates or a brigandine, that I think that's what they're sort of kind of going for, but it has a definite silhouette of a tactical vest, a modern tactical vest. And then he is wearing some kind of like fabric base to it with tabs, but that's got, again, it's got that Star Wars samurai. I think they're trying to do like a Jedi samurai thing. So it's kind of all over the place, but this here is, and Jamie Dornan, I adore him, but this here just is really bad. It looks so modern. A bunch of people who were commenting in the, you know, under the trailer were saying that, you know, here Jamie Dornan's holding a couple of Molotov cocktails or something, and the guys were, that they look like the Antifa, you know, which are the people who rival the fascists in Europe. And I kind of agree. And like, you know, the pants are very contemporary. The boots, they've kind of tried to give them a little bit of a medieval flair, but they still look fairly, but yeah, just the jackets, it just, and then there's a guy behind him. Maybe he looks like he's wearing like a Henley or something. I don't even know what that is. Aaron says, the Crusade costume looks like a costume you buy for your kids. I know, it's so bad. Like really, like, and you know, and it's so funny because I've been just looking at Game of Thrones costumes for the past 2 weeks because I'm working on a lot of videos. And then as I mentioned, I'm doing a book. And so I've just been really examining it. So after you look at something like that, and that's a fantasy world, and I suppose this is perhaps a fantasy world or you know, a parallel universe. And when you see something like that and you look at the quality and how good it is in its TV, and then you see something like this, and the budget on this was not small, like it was pretty big. It's a huge cast. And so anyway, I recommend to all of you that you check out Scholar Gladiatoria because his video is a riot. Now, this is the thing that probably of all things just really, I was like, what? When I saw this. So this is Ben Mendelsohn. He's a really good actor. Unfortunately, he's been typecast as a bad guy. I did see him in one movie where he played a good guy, like, or a neutral character at any rate. But I mean, his outfit on the left, I mean, it really looks like something out of Star Wars. I mean, so the one on the right obviously is from Rogue One, and then the one on the left is him, and he's supposed to be playing the Sheriff of Nottingham. He's wearing this ridiculous gray leather shawl collar coat over top of this Japanese inspired, Asian inspired outfit here. So this, I don't know. So one of the things I've talked about before is one of the things that I really enjoy when I go to see a movie isn't necessarily if I go, oh my God, the costumes are so amazing in this. This is such a great movie. Yeah. And he's like, what the hell? I hate this sheriff costume. Yes, I'm right there with you. Do you see what I mean, Cindy, about it kind of looking like his character from Rogue One? And except they changed his hair up, and he's wearing eyeliner as well, which kind of was like, what's with the eyeliner? So one of the things that really bothers me when I go to see a movie is when the costumes are incredibly distracting. And that's what I kind of find here. Like, I'm like, it's not so much that it's just a weird period, or they haven't sort of expressed where this is supposed to be taking place, what time period, what we're dealing with, but that it's kind of all over the place. And so it just, yeah, the helmets too, right? I don't like the helmets either, 30 days. I don't know what's going on with that. And they don't like these types of helmets, which I've rarely seen. I think they're kind of something in their imagination, like, or an Assassin's Creed type of thing. They're wearing them with like a cuirass, and then, which is the armor and the pauldron and everything, which this armor is quite late. Like, you wouldn't have seen this in this time period in the 1300s at all. It would have been chainmail. It would have been like coat of plates or something like that. So it's all over the place. But okay, so now this character, this is actually Little John. They call him Petit John, which is Little John. And Jamie Foxx is playing him, and he's supposed to be like a Moor, like a North African. Apparently Moor is the name that the Brits would have given to a Muslim person or a North African person. So they could have come from different places. But I actually kind of like this costume. It's one of my more favorite costumes because I really like this jacket. I just had this idea that maybe he's been on a boat, he's a pirate or something, and he's acquired this jacket. It's got these really cool like fasteners, sort of. They look very nautical, like, industrial. And then I guess this sash he's wearing is sort of, a hint that he's supposed to be from Africa of some kind, maybe some. And then he's just wearing this shirt underneath, which again, they've done these sort of not quite historically accurate. The thing that I might not be as crazy about is they do this sort of scarification, which I was kind of like, I don't know, that might feel a little bit on the nose. It might feel a little bit like it's they're sort of borrowing from Wakanda. I'm not sure. I mean, there are people in Africa that did do scarification. I don't know. Maybe it's part of the story, and we'll find that out. Yeah, Herman Bumps Mum says, oh, do you like the collar? You like Little John's collar? Like that sort of, it feels very Game of Thrones, that, doesn't it? Like, I think Arya Stark wore a collar like that. I do like that. And it's suede, and it's really broken down. They did a good job on that, in my opinion. Now, oh my God, I don't even know what to say. So this is supposed to be, I guess, Maid Marian. Now, it's funny because I was working on the costumes of Outlander, and actually she wore something kind of like this. It's like, this is very 1940s, 1930s, 1940s. And these sleeves, like bishop sleeves, are very 1940s, and the whole construction of it actually. So like just post World War II. And so this, I'm not even sure why they made that decision. It's just crazy. And then here, I found this actually from a production site that made a bunch of the weapons and so on. So this isn't from the trailer. So I don't know if this is actually from the movie. I think it is. They had it under their thing. So this is a little bit more getting into something accurate, where they're wearing the mail, they're wearing the male coif, and they're wearing the chainmail shirt. And then they have sort of like, again, though, I don't know if this is supposed to be boiled leather, like this armor. They got a bunch of weird things going on, but it's getting a little bit closer to what is, accurate, I suppose. So I don't know what you guys think. Let me know if anybody's watching this on the replay. I'm going to see if I can get the sound on the trailers. Then you can let me know what you think about that. Can you see me now? Am I back? Everyone pray, Maid Marian. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It was a huge opportunity lost. But anyway, so this is the same guy who designed the costumes for oh yeah, Herman Bumsmum says Hunger Games. Not accurate, but I do like the helmet. Says 30 days. Okay. Send me a link, laugh out loud. I have some words, laugh out loud. And Herman Bumsmum says, well, oh yeah. So anyway, so I really apologize about not having sound of the trailers. That was my first attempt. Next time, what I did is I did it through Google Hangouts instead of OBS. So next time I'll try and do it through OBS. And I think Jack says that would work. And I think that'll be a little more exciting, actually having sound on the trailer, just rather than having to watch it with no sound and it be like, just a big empty gap. Oh, Jasmine says, hello. Hi, Jasmine. Hope everybody's having a good weekend so far, by the way. So as I was mentioning that I just put up this Ned Stark video yesterday. That was really, really fun. I will be releasing the Jon Snow version, like part 2 of that video, hopefully next week. Should be next week. I've got most of it done. What happened was I was doing the video. I had the Jon Snow mixed with Ned Stark because I was sort of trying to tie the two together, and it just became this huge monster. And then we went away, and then I said, okay, I better just cut it in half. So that's what I'm doing. So obviously, spoiler alert here, Ned only does 1 season, whereas the other character, Jon Snow, obviously is, still in the show. So there's a lot more costumes to deal with. Although he does sort of, at one point, I think he wears like 1 costume. It's kind of like Arya. He wears this 1 costume for like 2 or 3 seasons. Poor guy. Doesn't get to change. But they are beautiful. So I'm going to have that coming out hopefully next week. And then until 2019 airs, I'm probably going to be doing quite a few Game of Thrones. Like I still wanted to do Varys and Catelyn Stark. I haven't done her. And I wanted to do Gwendolyn. What's her name? Gwendolyn. Oh, Game of Thrones. Awesome as all. Awesome. Bye in Deep Geek. He says, awesome as always, Heidi. Enjoy the rest of the stream. Oh, thanks so much. Thanks for coming by. I really appreciate it. Oh, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. So great. I Am Down Jones is here. Yay! This Robin Hood has a great cast, but I prefer a more historical telling than the fantasy version they're going for. Yeah, for sure. The other thing I was going to say, okay, so a couple of things I was going to say, if any of you have watched my Reign video that I did on Mary Queen of Scots. So in that video, I talked about the costumes that they were, really anachronistic. A lot of them were contemporary. The costume designer went down just to some shops and purchased costumes. She bought a lot of them online through websites. And then towards I think it was season 3 and through season 4, she started actually building more costumes. So then they started having the proper silhouette. But at the beginning, she just didn't even bother. It was sort of like, it was a CW show. She was going after a much younger audience. And I always said that was kind of a lost opportunity because I think history has a lot of really interesting things that happen. So for instance, today we were talking about, it would be really, really funny to do a puppet show. It would be like puppet show history, talking about different sort of historical things that have happened. But one of the things that happened with Mary that I thought was really, really interesting is that she had this guy who she had married. He was a real douchebag, apparently. And she was having dinner with this guy who apparently it was rumored that she was having an affair with. So, a lot of this went on. I mean, it's no surprise. They married for business purposes. They didn't marry for love in those days. It was all, arranged. And, so this whole idea of marrying for love is a very contemporary thing. So she was married off to this guy, Lord Darnley, having a fling with this other guy in the meantime. So Mary's having dinner with her family and this boyfriend of hers. And then her husband marches in and basically grabs the guy, drags him into another room and stabs him to death. Apparently 60 times or something like that. So I'm like, that's a really cool story. And then shortly, or, sometime after that, Mary, of course, despises him. So not surprisingly, Lord Darnley's house blows up. And then they find him. He hasn't died from the explosion. He was actually strangled to death. And then shortly, maybe 2 months later, Mary marries this other guy. And, so people were suspicious that the man that she married was the one who was responsible for Lord Darnley's death. So I'm always like, I don't understand why you have to change the story when the real story is always so interesting. Another thing I really loved that they changed in Reign is that Mary's handmaidens were all named Mary, which if you're a Catholic is a very popular name. Like my mom's middle name is Mary. Pretty much every Catholic woman has Mary in her name. So all her handmaidens were Mary. So she would have been Mary Queen of Scots. And then she would have had, and I thought it would have been so funny. You have all these handmaidens named Mary and you're having this conversation oh, hello, Mary. What are you doing today? Oh, I don't know, Mary. And then maybe they'd have to, number them or something, or they'd all have to wear a different color so you could identify which Mary is which. I just thought it would be really, really funny. But no, they have to, I don't know, they have to screw with it for some reason. And so in this new movie, this new Mary Queen of Scots, I think, again, I was saying that the love affair that Mary apparently is having is with Elizabeth's lover or boyfriend. And apparently they never had a love affair. Mary was Queen of Scots. And I can't remember his name. It's not Lord Darnley. It's the other one. And but apparently it was actually Elizabeth who was putting him up to marrying Mary because she was trying to, appease her or sort of, keep her down a little bit because she didn't want her trying to come after her throne. But Mary, Queen of Scots, didn't want to marry this guy because, Lord Dudley, that's his name, Lord Dudley. She didn't want to marry him because she thought of him as being an inferior person because she had been married to a prince who then eventually became a king of France. So she was like, well, I don't want to marry this guy, Lord Dudley, and Elizabeth's cast off. So Elizabeth tried to make him an earl or some other kind of higher. Yeah, Dudley. That's right. Thank you. Lord Dudley. And I'm just like, so, it wasn't like there was, they were fighting over the guy or anything. It was all politics. It had nothing, to do with anything to do with love. And just anyway, so that's just my little rant about, sometimes I think, love, are my dumbass. What's that, Aaron? LOLR, my dumbass. Lord R. Lord R, my dumbass. Oh, good for your husband. Sadly, people can't do those kind of things nowadays. Yeah. So anyway, so do you guys have any other comments you want to make or questions or anything? So the other thing I'd said is I'll have lots of more Game of Thrones videos coming out. I'm going to have Natasha Beaverfield, who is a wonderful cosplayer, coming on. If you guys didn't catch the beginning of the show, I'm hopefully having her on in the next few weeks, definitely before the end of the summer, to talk about cosplay, to talk about costume construction and wigs. She travels around to all types of costume shows. And I actually will be going to, it's called Fan Expo. It's kind of like our Toronto Comic-Con. I'm going at the end of August. I may bring Kristen with me. She was on the show a couple of months ago. I'm hoping that her and I are going to hook up. She's from Detroit. And then have her back on the show, but she can kind of help me do that. And I don't know if I'm going to be meeting any celebrities. It's sort of, I'll have to wait and see. But Jason Momoa is going to be there. So that's really exciting. And also Steve from Stranger Things is going to be there. So I don't know. I don't know if I'll be able to meet anybody, but we'll see. But I will definitely be able to go around the show floor and talk to cosplayers and get that on camera and try and track down some really cool costumes that people are wearing. Aaron says, I thought his name started with an R. Yeah, there's Lord Darling and then Lord Dudley. So there, yeah. Oh, Ian Trone's here. Hi. He says, oh, hey. Is that what you're saying? Oh, yeah. Cindy says, yes, on Rain McClintock prom dresses. Now, if you guys might not know what this is, Cindy and I are probably close in age. So years ago, when I was in theater school, I worked at a bridal store, and we used to have, we had a lot of off-the-rack wedding gowns, but you could special order them as well. And one of the popular companies that we carried was Jessica McClintock, and she was this designer. She made both wedding gowns and prom dresses, and so they could be for bridal, but they could be for prom as well. So like if you were like a bridesmaid or a mother of the bride or whatever, you would wear her clothes. And pretty much everything was like synthetic. It was made of polyester and like lots of machine lace and fairly low price point. Like you could get something for a couple of $100s, and you always usually have like a wrap or something. So that's what a lot of the dresses look like on Rain. And a lot of them have like sequins and beading, like, cheap beading and stuff like that. So I did a big rant about that. Oh, Cindy says, I wore McClintock prom dresses. I'm old as dirt. Cindy, I made my own prom dress. I was a big fan of Molly Ringwald from, Pretty in Pink. And so she actually made her dress in Pretty in Pink. So that's what I did. I went out and I bought pink fabric. It was like a jacquard. And it was sort of a drop waist, which was really, big in the 80s. And I made my own dress. And that was actually I'd made a few things before that, but it was one of the first like major projects I ever did. And then I bought matching pink leather shoes. And I think I wore pink fishnets with it because pink was my thing. And of course, my hair was not like I've cut my hair. My hair was actually, no, it was short then. But I did wear my hair sort of like a bob, like Molly Ringwald. I was a really big fan of hers. Oh, yeah, in the Brat Pack. Jasmine says cosplayers are so dedicated, and I love how they put their love into their work. Yes, they do. You know, and one of the things I wanted to say about cosplayers, so I'm just going to take a drink, is that just because somebody is doing an impression of like a famous costume, it doesn't mean that they aren't extremely skilled. Like many of them, I've been blown away by the level of skill that goes into their costumes. Not only that, but the research. Like I had a chat with Natasha because she actually wanted to make this dress from Outlander, and she tracked down the fabric. It was the last of the fabric in England, and she actually managed to track it down. So it was screen accurate fabric, the same place that Terry Dresbach purchased it. She ordered it, and then she basically tried to, you know, just made the pattern, or she took a pattern and altered it. And then she wore it to this premiere where Terry was going to be. And Terry like flipped out when she saw her wearing the dress. She's like, how did you find this fabric? And it's because Natasha had tracked it down. Like they're very resourceful, these. And now what they're doing, a lot of them, what I've discovered is there's a website, I think it's called Spoonflower, where you can actually design a print. Like let's say if you find a fabric from a show that you want to recreate, but you can't find the fabric. So like say on Game of Thrones, like if you like Sansa's dress from season 7, the one that has like, it looks like it's got the sigil from House Bolton on it. You can take that and then I think either you do a vector file of it and then you can send it to this company called Spoonflower and they'll print it up. Maybe as a vector, I'm not sure how that works exactly because I'm not like, I haven't researched it too much. And then they'll, you know, they order how much fabric they need of it. It's custom, and then they get it back and then they create the costume. And this is what a lot of the cosplayers are doing. And it's absolutely brilliant. And I've seen a lot of them too are doing like 3D printing. There's this one woman I wanted to see if I could have her on. She actually works in the gaming industry. She's pretty famous in her industry, but she also does 3D printing of Game of Thrones jewelry, like say the crowns and the necklaces and things like that. So what's Aaron saying? I could make about 50 costumes for Rain in about 6 months, and not only would they be historically accurate, but awesome as well. As hell. Yes. Yes, I'm sure you could. Lord Dudley. In the movie where Cate Blanchett played Elizabeth, wasn't that about her relationship with Lord Dudley? I think Dudley. Yes. So Lord Dudley was played by Joseph Fiennes in Elizabeth the Golden Age. And interestingly, this is where it gets a bit incestuous, is that the woman who's doing the costumes for Mary Queen of Scots is the same woman who did Elizabeth Golden Age with Cate Blanchett and Joseph Fiennes. So the Joseph Fiennes character, Lord Dudley, the one that she's in love with, Elizabeth apparently tried to marry him off to Mary Queen of Scots. Like how, like it's a little bit weird. It's like the other day I was talking about how after Henry VIII died, his final wife, like his 6th wife or whatever, I think it's Catherine Parr. Maybe you guys know if anybody watches The Tudors. I think it's Catherine Parr. She then becomes Elizabeth I's stepmother. And Elizabeth I's stepmother then goes on to marry Jane Seymour's brother. So it's all really weird and incestuous. And then they all live together. So Catherine Parr and Elizabeth I, who's then a teenager, and James Seymour's brother, which I forget his name. But anyways, apparently he was a little bit creepy, like a bit of a cad. And he started like molesting Elizabeth I, and then Catherine Parr got wind of it. So they had to move Elizabeth out of the residence. She couldn't live with them anymore. So not only had her father died and her mother had been executed, but now she's being like molested by her stepfather. And then Catherine Parr, who she's come to love, she has to like move out of the residence. So it was really terrible. And in the end, Jane Seymour's brother, he ends up getting tried for treason and executed. So there you go. He ended up getting his comeuppance. So I always say, like, you know, history is sometimes more interesting than like, you know, stories that we make up or whatever, or life is more interesting, or life imitating art, or whatever the expression is. Catherine Parr. Damn autocorrect. Yes, it is Catherine Parr, right? Cindy? Angel over 02171 says, that's gangsta. Dumping someone and forcing them to leave the country. Yeah. Well, I think what happened was he didn't have much status. Like, you guys might know more about this than I do. Did you see the trailer for The Favorite? It's set during the short reign of Queen Anne. No, I have not seen it. I have seen Lady Jane, though. Has anybody seen Lady Jane, where she's only queen for 7 days? It's with Helena Bonham Carter, and we were talking about him earlier, Cary Elwes from The Princess Bride, who I just adore, and he's going to be at Fan Expo. I hope I get to see him because I love him. And he's also in the Saw movies. I wasn't crazy about that, but I will forever love him in The Princess Bride and Men in Tights. What else are you guys saying here? Herman Bums Bum says, yes, Lady Jane. Yes, I really liked it. I thought it was good. And it was because a lot of, again, back to Elizabeth and Elizabeth the First. You know, guys, I'm not a history person here, but Elizabeth the First and Mary Queen of Scots, a lot of, and then the same thing with Lady Jane and Mary, Bloody Mary, is that a lot of it was over the Protestant Catholic thing, right? So we're having a lot of fighting going on because of the monarchy being Catholic, which Elizabeth was Protestant, and then Mary being a devout Catholic. So there's a lot of that was going on. That's what happened with Lady Jane. So Lady Jane was Protestant, and then Bloody Mary came in and then had to have her executed because she's basically a pawn. Aaron says, I did a whole report on this whole affair of the Tudors and their regents for my whole history senior class and got an A+ on them all. Laugh aloud. That's awesome, Aaron. It kind of fleshed it out, but I liked it. Yeah, I think so too, because it probably Lady Jane probably wasn't much of a story. I have a feeling it was quite a short little story. So I think they did do a good job of fleshing it out, like how she's forced to be married to the Cary Elwes character and they can't stand each other, which I love that. And then they slowly kind of come to really be into each other, which was cool. It was really sexy, I thought. So anyways, guys, that's probably going to be it. I'm making it a short episode today, because it's just me. And then I hope soon that I will have a guest on. Like I said, I'm going to have Patrick on again. I'm going to have Natasha on. I'll probably have Kristen on, the other cosplayer, again. And as I mentioned, I'm trying to see if I can get this weapons person to come on, do a video with them. So as I said, I'm going to have the Jon Snow video out this week, so you can look out for that. You know, it's just like, it's funny because when I'm doing these videos, it just really makes me all misty and nostalgic. Like when I did the Ned Stark one, I was just like, oh my God, I just love Sean Bean so much. I really, really miss him. And if any of you guys are big Sean Bean fans, where he's playing a good character, you should watch the Frankenstein Chronicles. It's really good. It's only, I think, a 6-part show. It's a British show, and it's on Netflix. And it's really, really well done. And he's like it's very well written. The costumes are gorgeous. I'm also watching The Alienist, which has really good costumes. It sort of has the same kind of feeling, that gothic kind of feeling, as the Frankenstein Chronicles, except that it takes place in America. And it's sort of about the early beginnings of forensics, and A.U. Packmule got me into that. So those are a couple of great shows if you guys want to check out. I'm going to watch I, Tonya, actually. I don't know if any of you guys, speaking of Margot Robbie, that's on Netflix now. So if any of you guys, I think that'll be kind of fun. So it's sort of like, I guess it would be 1980s. Maybe it's 90s, but Tonya Harding. So I'm going to probably watch that tonight, maybe. Just relax tonight, take tomorrow off. It's been a crazy week because, like, as I mentioned to you guys, I've been really busy with my regular work. So I always enjoy, this is my favorite part of my week is doing my channel, working on my videos, looking at costumes, doing research on costumes. That's always the favorite part of my week. And doing that. And if I could do this full time, I for sure would. This would be my favorite thing to be able to do. So thank you everyone for coming. Aaron, I know you sent me a little message earlier. I'm probably going to respond to you. I was going to tell you guys that Aaron and Natasha. No, sorry, Aaron and Tatiana, who's one of my other viewers. I had them on like about a month ago. They were both telling me that while I was away, that they're sort of chatting with each other. And I guess Aaron is looking at making some costumes from like Belle, Beauty and the Beast that Tatiana sort of created. So they're collaborating on that. So I'm hoping I'm going to be able to share that with you once they have something a little bit more concrete. But I want to thank 30 Day Reviews and Aaron for moderating the chat. And thank you guys for everyone who came in today. I really appreciate it. And I really apologize about the sound. So hopefully as I go along, I'm going to become a little bit more technically minded and be able to do not be as challenged that way. So as always, I hope you guys have a great week. I will be here next week, next Saturday. Like I said, I'll have a video out and then I'll have a live stream out. So look forward to seeing all of you guys. And I hope you all have a great week. Thank you so much. Talk to you soon. Thanks, Aaron. Oh, bye, Aaron.